Welcome to the Conservation Commission Inland Wetlands Water Course Agency meeting for Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. Call to order and roll call. We have Keenan and Kyle and keep it seat for Andrew and Jason. Right. Approval of the minutes for May 16th. Does anyone have any changes or corrections? Without objection, we will file them. Item number 3, new applications for receipt. Application CC number 23-21 of Rourke and Hannah Marlowe, owners for a map amendment to the town of Simsbury's official wetlands map to clarify the wetland boundary and regulated activity for the installation of a 465 square foot in-ground pool at 25 Orchard Lane, assessors map B16, block 419, lot 034, Simsbury.
Chairwoman, this is an application for both a map amendment as well as regulated activity. It's for a 465 square foot in-ground pool. This soil scientist was provided, information was provided with the application. And from that delineation, we will use that to create the map amendment for the official wetlands map. The state statute requires a public hearing for the map amendment. So staff suggests that this required public hearing be scheduled for July 18th. And here's just some information from the application. It might be a little hard to see, but the map on the right is what the soil scientist provided in his delineation. The non-wetland soils are indicated as numbers 308, 306, and 43. You'll notice that's in the adjacent in the rear of the property. Wetland soils are 6, which is beyond where the proposed disturbance will be. And the survey on the left was provided, which will be the official map amendment map that will be filed. And it shows the area disturbance, the areas that the soil scientists dug the holes for his testing, and as well as proposed soil and erosion control measures. So staff recommends determining the regulated activity for an in-ground pool to be non-significant and schedule that action for July 18th at the next week, regular meeting schedule.
Just remember, we're saying July 18th because you don't meet your first meeting in July. You only have one meeting in July, it's on the 18th. And July 4th is, yeah.
All right, good.
It's your regular meeting date.
Yeah.
So do we have any questions?
Well, is it correct summary to say that because of the sampling that was done, lands that we thought might have been wetlands are no longer wetlands?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Any other questions?
And the applicant's here to answer questions as well.
Yeah, Rourke Marlowe.
It's always nice to have the soil science. And it's 65 square foot in-ground pool. You want to ask questions now or at the next? I mean, it's an insignificant activity, but can we ask questions that just with the drainage and
Typically, I would recommend you save that unless you want the applicant to provide additional information or anything like that. You can ask those questions now or kind of pertinent to your making a decision of significance.
So as long as we know where it's going to be drained to,
Okay.
how it's treated, that's those are things we usually ask for the application.
Okay, yeah, thoughts were that we would probably have someone come and pump the water out and relocate it somewhere else rather than because it's all
Draw down
wetlands.
season draw down.
Yeah, yeah.
And where would it be located? Is it the X under the 43?
Sorry, what's that?
Or where would the location of the pool be?
Yeah, it's hard to tell with the red on there, so it's like plan north of the house.
I'm sorry, I can break it up. Let me draw. I don't know if that's going to be.
You can just get to it, then you can blow it up.
Oh, there we go. So let me.
Yeah, so versus proposed pool. That box.
There you go.
And then the WF with the number, that's where the deleted wetlands start.
Will there be any landscaping around the pool?
Yes, and inside that disturbance area that's in red.
We always try and encourage people to use native plants, especially since you're so near the wetlands.
Okay.
So if you have a landscape designer, you can encourage them to select native plants.
Okay, yeah, we've only like, rather than thinking about like hardscaping like patios
Yeah.
right now, but if we add any
If you do any
plants,
planting.
yes, for sure.
Any other questions? Most someone like to propose a motion for seconds.
I'll move that this is not a significant activity and that we take it up in the July meeting.
Second, all in favor? No.
So Chairwoman, I will also do a motion to schedule the hearing for map amendment for July 8th.
Motion to schedule the public hearing
Yes,
for July 18th.
for July.
All right, we have a second? Number two, and all in favor? Aye. Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you then. All right, application CC number 23, that's 25 of Todd and Andrea Burke, owners for LADA BC Land Planners, applicant for a wetlands permit to construct a 321 square foot addition and a 379 square foot deck in the upland review area at 4 Victoria Lane, assessment map C08, lot 212, lot 010, Simsbury.
So this is also for receipt, both you mentioned the deck and an addition in the back of the home. The proposed area of disturbance is 800 square feet. However, as per the application and the architect who's here tonight, the disturbance will be minimal. They'll be using footings with sonotubes, and then there'll be removal of the topsoil underneath with stone cover. So the current home is approximately 37 feet from the wetland soils, and the closest point with the proposed addition is going to be 24 feet. And the applicant also provided proposed silt fencing, which is very small on this source. But the red box is where it starts, and then it kind of goes up.
That's here.
Yeah. There's also a septic tank on the property that they'll also protect with silt fencing. The staff recommends determining the regulated activity non-significant and to schedule for action on July 18th.
And the applicant.
With the
It's here.
here.
I'm here for this one. I'm gonna ask the same question. Are you gonna be doing any plantings around?
No, am I allowed to have something up here? Okay, so, some pictures, so it'll be easier to understand. So there's an existing deck right now where the, addition is going to go. Okay. And so the idea would be that. Okay, we'll do the files. So it's easier to understand that. So you see there's an existing deck that's going to become an addition. So on the upper level, this is a split level sort of interesting house. So you have the garage at the lower level, and then you step up into it, and that the kitchen is the one that faces the deck right now. So they want to expand the kitchen, and it's a 1960s house. And with the 1960s kitchen, and they can't stand it anymore. So they want to replace the deck with an addition and then extend the deck along the back of the face of the building. So it's not disturbing anything new. And it's already basically covered. The addition itself will be on posts as well as the additional deck. So there's not a lot of soil disturbance, but you know how things go. So I always try to be conservative with the number. So that's really what's going on. And then the rest of it is grass of the yard, because right behind there is where the septic system is. So it's really not a plantable type scenario at this point.
How close will the new deck be to the septic?
The same distance as what it is now.
Okay.
It's just gonna run along the part of the house that it isn't there right now. Right there, where his finger is. The septic system runs along the entire length of the house. So it's it's no closer than what it is now. Yeah.
Does grass go right up to the edge of the wetland?
It's more or no, the woods are back further. Yeah, the woods are way back here. The wetlands it's just basically right on the edge of the septic system.
Right.
So,
Okay. Nice looking one.
yeah.
I think it's a nice organic, lawn service. Do you have any other questions? Entertain a motion without significance? Motion of significance?
I'll move this is not significant activity, and if we take it up for action on July 8th.
Can I ask one question? Isn't there a meeting in 2 weeks?
So I was,
No.
no, for this, no.
No, we need.
Notice?
Oh, no.
No, I mean, this is non-significance.
Yeah.
Couldn't we do it in 2 weeks?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The meeting isn't July.
No, there's a
No,
second
we did
meeting
that
in
for the
June.
public hearing.
No, I thought there was only, okay.
I think. I mean, it says it on your calendar, but I don't know if it's real.
We're still in June 20th. We can certainly do June 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a little caught up thinking.
I also wanted to mention, it is going for a special exception as well because it's in a flood zone.
Oh, we could do the 20th for action. Absolutely.
So we'll do the 20th here.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Is the flood zone like a federally fed said?
Yeah, that's, what's happened on the flood zone is that essentially this entire property is within the flood zone.
Yeah.
The flood limit goes up to almost to the street. So the construction of this building is such that we can't claim the volume underneath this deck. It has to stay open. So that's why it's up on piers with some occasional slats just for an appearance. But essentially it is flood volume for which we are not filling.
All right, motion for a significant,
Just amend the date.
I'll amend the date.
June 20th.
To June 20th.
June 20th. And we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all right, any discussion, all in favor?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. See you on the 20th.
Yep.
Yes, me too.
Thanks for straightening this stuff.
No worries. I understood why the other one was because of the public hearing and you can't meet your notice provision. Sorry. Thanks.
All right. So we're on the public hearing and action on applications. Application CC 23-19 of Frank and Catherine Jocelyn, owners for wetland permit to construct a 572 square foot addition in the upland review area at 20 Saddle Ridge Drive, Assessors Map C07, Block 212, Lot 031, Simsbury.
Yeah, so this was an item we heard at the May 16th meeting, determined non-significant. It's an addition at the side of the home, approximately 572 square feet in the upland review area, approximately 40 feet from the water's edge. And I'll turn the slide so we can. Oh, the picture, sorry, that's the smaller one on the right. So there is a slope to the property. And we had brought this to our engineering staff for review. We are waiting for more information from the applicant about the proposed grading, area disturbance, and then where the silt fencing will be once the builder is hired. I have a condition stating that we can work with the applicant on this process and make sure not to issue any further building permits until those issues with the engineering comments are resolved.
Will there be any clearing to the site or it's all on grass?
So I believe there will be clearing. We just don't know to the extent of the clearing. And the applicant is here. If there's any more question.
Yeah.
Applicant speak.
So are there any landscaping at the property?
Currently, we don't have any particular plans yet, but again, we take your advice about the native plantings to put in there. I wanted to just mention that we're hopefully getting close to have a decision for a contractor. Once we get a contractor set, then we have the feedback for you regarding the excavation and the clearing and more detail on that. So we hope to get some action on that pretty soon.
And just for the record, if you could identify yourself for the.
Oh, hi, Catherine Joslin, Frank Joslin. Thank you. Thank you.
So just a process question here. Typically that those kind of questions, like what's happened with the builder, et cetera, are kind of laid out before.
Right. The
request
hope
comes
is
in.
usually that when an application comes, it has all that information prior to it. The wetland process was started before the builder was hired, so they wanted to get through that process first. And again, it's it's your purview, but I can work with them to make sure that the silt fencing and the disturbance is minimal.
Or you could, the delay and wait to have the documentation provided. I mean, that is certainly your option. We thought that we might have that information by the time we got to you. We just don't. And I think that has to do with the applicant work, trying to find a contractor to go through that process. And that's hard to anticipate sometimes. So you're absolutely right. We normally would. So that would be your option to delay action or to allow staff to implement that. Make sure that those elements are in place. And we are not, I don't think we're making recommendations to let us do it. That's your option, right?
And I see in the application, it says the Pakistan and rhododendron will be transferred to other areas.
We talked about that. We referred to that. It should be it's not a native plant, the Pakistan. So hopefully mulch that up and reuse it as a fertilizer. Yes.
Yeah, there's lots of other, native ground covers, but Pakistan can get out of control.
Yes.
All right, so do you want to wait until we get the?
So I do not think this is going to be a big deal. Everything you've said here would be what we would sort of talk about approval, but generally, our process is to approve a final plan and they comment on it, we can see it.
Yeah.
So unless there's some overriding reason that you need to have it approved ahead of time, I would prefer just to delay this until you have that. I don't think there's ever going to be a problem, but it would allow us to show that we aren't doing something out of the ordinary in our process. That'd be my perspective.
Our intention had been to look into the feasibility of the project before we proceeded, looking for an excavator or contractor, surveying and so forth. And we initiated the whole adventure by coming to town hall and talking to people. And we had been assured, and it's still consistent with what we're hearing, that we could begin the process and have it ongoing to initiate the process just because we were concerned about the feasibility of the project to begin with.
Yeah.
We were comfortable that the project would not impact the environment because we're very concerned about that ourselves. But we obviously weren't aware of the procedures. And so that's why we I can't say we put the cart in front of the horse because basically we see it as in tandem or parallel.
We're just hoping that we're not impeding the progress, but since you haven't got the contractor yet, another 2 weeks is really not granted, but it would go along with what, you know.
We expect to have that firmed up by the weekend, which would, under that umbrella would be the excavator and so forth. We've already had quite a bit of discussion about how that would be done because we asked those kinds of questions about the excavation and about, you know, the barriers and so forth. And the people that we're working with are very sensitive to it. It's obvious that they are.
Well, I think it just makes it cleaner on our part. Unless everyone has an agreement. We'll just
Be consistent.
Yeah.
I think a motion to move the application to your June 20th meeting for action.
All right.
Perfect. And we'll just come back.
I'll move that we move, we delay this until June 20th for action.
Very good. Any discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to application CC number 23-20 of Perry DeVita and Larry Severance, owners, and Frank Van Linder, applicant for a wetland permit to construct a 615 square foot addition, and a portion of which includes an existing deck and patio, the upland review area at 24 Banks Road, assessors map E12, block 127, lot 025, Simsbury.
This is another addition, this time in the rear of the home. That was heard at the May 16th meeting and determined non-significant. The builder did provide soil and erosion control measures that will be taken. There'll be a stockpile to the right on that map with silt fencing around that, and also silt fencing around the wetland soils to protect that area. The proposed addition will be approximately 35 feet from the soil boundary. And these are just the pictures that were provided. The left is where the area of the addition will be. And the right is looking out. The soils are in that far corner of the property.
Are the wetland soils under the existing lawn, or is it in the shrub in the wooded area?
So I believe there's shrubs and wooded area, but I don't know exactly.
Looking at that map.
Hmm?
Just looking at that map, I didn't see the tree line.
Right.
I thought it was right at the tree line.
Yeah, there were pictures from the earlier meeting that said there is a trampoline and then there's wooded area behind it.
But there's no, this particular area is not, there's not like a stream for around the wells. It's just wetland soil.
Those are soils, yeah.
And just going over where the little patio is right there.
Yep. And the applicants, the homeowners. So just be sure.
Will there be any landscaping? Of course. All right. Native, of course. Lovely. Have to ask.
I included that as a motion, native plantings to be, a condition, native plantings. Replanted and invasive plant species removed just to the greatest extent possible on the property.
How far is the closest water course from there?
I don't,
Where's the drain to? That's the question. Where's the wet?
The,
I don't know the answer. I don't know if there is a water, there's no water course on the property.
I looked just a few numbers down from that. The minor area is completely sand, so this has to be like the low area where that was built. I mean, it's all sand everywhere else. There's no stream, there's no nothing that runs through this neighborhood.
Do you have any other questions? Would entertain a motion.
You'll do it. I'll do it. I move that the Conservation Commission approves the application CC 2220 for the wetland permit, constructing addition, to replace the existing deck, subject to, because it will not, based on the fact, approve this because it will not adversely affect the wetland soils and subject to the conditions of the staff report.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All, any discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. All right, thank you. You're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
General Commission. Thank you very much.
So there are a few designated agent applications. I just wanted to bring to your attention, 4 of them, to be precise. First
Before we
one,
get to that,
sorry.
Commission business? No.
Did I provide an update on the vessel property at the last meeting?
You did not.
We have received an appeal of your decision.
Of our decision.
You did by, one of the adjacent property owners.
Oh,
And staff will work with the town attorney to, and yourselves when needed, on that process.
all right, thank you very much.
Is there a timetable on that or,
I think we've got a.
I mean, is it by statute must be like?
No, there's not. It's a. In court, show up, judge,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
If it was struck down at zoning, what will be the purpose?
well, there's, the judiciary process is an unknown. The applicant has filed an appeal of the zoning commission decision. So
it's a just in case.
So it's, yeah, the applicant will play the process out on that side.
What was there a specific justification?
Primary procedural. I'm happy to share the document with you. It's obviously available. On the vote, they're challenging that the first vote, which was 3-2 for the vote for denial, which I reported based on talking to the town attorney, required 4 votes. They were the challenges that the simple majority rule. That's the challenge to the decision. That first vote to deny should have carried.
Because it was a majority.
Because it was a simple majority of 3-2. When I had called the town attorney during that process, and he recommended or said or provided that his position is that if you have 7 seated members, majority of the seated members is required to pass a motion.
Right.
Judge is going to determine that.
Okay.
That's the argument.
That's kind of interesting.
And of course, if that gets struck down and then we go back to denial, then the applicant will file a bid. So this will
Fascinating.
this will be around for a little while. Good. Yeah.
All right,
Interesting. Happy to call me offline if you have any individual questions.
all right. Thank you. Right, thank you for the update. All right. And the letter was sent to the board of selectmen?
The letter was sent to the board of selectmen, or is being sent to them, I think in their packet perhaps. For the meeting next week.
Oh, for the special.
Yeah, sent to the zoning commission. Zoning commission had a very interesting conversation about it. They did not exactly have consensus on your letter. There were several of them were concerned about reducing the for them. They had a conversation about their position on when and where and how to use third party experts.
They have different concerns and issues.
Yes, so their concern is that there ought to be some minimum threshold. So we're going to put it on their next agenda for a full discussion on that.
Did they have if this was, you said the zoning commission had that?
Yes.
All right,
Remember, we carbon copied all the
Yes.
changes, so.
but it's ultimately this board of selectmen that would have the decision?
Yeah, so it is, so the requirement and the definition for that third party process is in the town code. It is not in the zoning
Right.
regulations, it's not your regulations, it doesn't come out of the wetlands code, it comes out of the town code of ordinances.
Yeah.
So the board of selectmen are the only folks who can change
Yeah,
that section of the code after public hearing. Yeah.
interesting.
It is very interesting. I've not briefed the planning commission on it yet.
All right. Thank you. All right. All right, well, thank you. Sorry, back to agent action.
Well, that's important stuff.
The first agent approval was at 5 Riverview Circle. It was for 2 tanks in the upland review area and a generator. The nearest point was 77 feet to the water course, and the disturbance was going to be 4 feet by 3 inches of soil disturbed. And the picture on the right, you can't see the red flags, but they outline where that will go. And 2 Peel Lane, it is for a additional techno post footing to extend a deck. So it's just one slight disturbance, approximately 8 to 12 inches in diameter, 85 feet to the wetland swales. And then for Ichabod Road, this is for a heat pump condenser on marble chips, approximately 30 feet to the wetland swales. And then 9 Washburn Drive, another heat pump on a new concrete pad, 36 by 40 inches, and the nearest point was 30 feet to the wetland soils. And that was it.
I'm just curious, the marble chips, was it was gravel, but that they didn't different?
No, he specified marble chips, so I just put marble
Okay,
chips,
all
but it looks like gravel.
Yes,
It's yes.
It's like normal.
There's nothing
gravel,
special.
Special checks or
Yeah.
I
I wanted to be as
didn't
precise.
know that was required for that.
It's
Sorry.
not-
So on the very first one, which was close to the water, to the waterway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Did you have to worry about flooding or anything when you were thinking about that?
No, so it was initially going to be located in a flood zone,
Okay,
and they would have to have gone for a special exception.
Okay.
They moved it, so it's not in the flood zone
We spent
anymore.
a lot of time going back and forth
Yeah.
with this particular LP tanks. We gotta have them out of the flood zone.
Right.
So, yeah, and we finally were able to.
okay.
check the- But yeah, good.
Chip, apple marble chip.
But they could conceptually go there. They have to be tied down and strapped, and there's it's an engineering process. They could be placed there. It's better not.
Right, no, it makes sense,
Yeah.
I was wondering whether that was part of a conversation that already occurred.
It was originally in the flood zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill, looks good.
If those applications are an extra posts, I figured it's lovely that we have the agent action of that.
I know.
You just have to have them before us.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Anything else? Conservation business? Nothing?
We've been so busy. We really haven't had a chance to circle back with you on what items you're interested in chatting about or doing those kinds of things. So
One of the things I'd like to see at some point when it dies down, we earlier this year, we did have that an issue with the excavation of the pond over at the Simsbury Farms. And it was very interesting.
I walked it recently and it looked great. It looked like it.
Good, because during construction, it's particular.
What would you like?
I think just because it was sort of out of our hands, I mean, we did have the town reviewing it, but it was done by a contractor with the state. Just how that process worked.
Okay.
Just because I'm not sure everyone else.
Yeah, you didn't see it because it was under the state permit for
Yes.
dams,
Yes. Just to make us aware that sometimes when it's under the state permit, extra eyes may still be needed because it wasn't, I don't think.
yes, I'll bring our friends in from the Department of Engineering. We'll have a nice chat about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the sound was very receptive, but I was surprised at what happened there.
On the, yeah, the same thing, the fiber optic cable, is that work all completed? On the bike path? That was exposed,
Yeah, that's what,
filling in,
that was that quote from really early this year or
Yeah.
last year.
that must have been done by now, right?
Yeah, it must have been, but I don't know that I followed, was I supposed to follow back on that?
I don't think so, but it was like an emergency thing, exposed wire or fiber optics.
Oh,
right in the
surely,
water.
let me ask, but I'm sure that that was dissolved,
I'm sure it has.
but it hasn't,
Okay. Anyone else want to bring anything up? Concerns? All right. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second
All in
that.
favor? Okay, good. Thank you.